Today will be the last chance to have a crack at this chain. The most pressing problem is how to get our lift back issues sorted out. If we can resolve this issue, then lifting the chain and anchor should be straightforward. As we discovered previously, we aren't getting all the bags to inflate. The root of this problem is a basic misunderstanding between divers and tugboats. Divers use air compressors that produce a constant high volume of air. The compressor we brought produces enough air for the diver, but not for the added requirement of blowing up lift bags. The tug has a compressor that has a rating of 30 bar, more than enough pressure for lift bags. These lift bags were grouped in clusters of 5, all inflating via this air manifold, which is fed via one hose and from there inflates all 5 bags at once. So air comes in and is distributed to all 5 bags. But for this to work, you need a constant volume of air. Tugboats have compressors that they use to start their engines, but the pressure of 30 bar is only reached over time and is only available in a short burst. If the volume of air after the short burst is too low, then the air only inflates the first 3 bags and starves the other 2. This is the result. 3 bags are upright, but the other 2 hang upside down and spill all their air. Because the pressure in the 3 working bags is too low, the dump valves don't seal and eventually they also deflate. This is the problem solver. A high volume, take no prisoners industrial compressor. Yesterday, the guys came out on the DSV and checked on lifting gear still attached to the anchor and chain. Today the plan is to tidy up loose ends and then lift the gear. We prepare under the watchful eye of the boss, Raymond, as we make our approach to the dive site. We tie up directly to the ship's anchor we intend to lift, and the ropes are gathered to start the process of lifting. Mark will be the first diver down and will start by preparing the lifting gear on the anchor.
On the stop side of the anchor. On the shackle of the stop.
No, we'll have a rope on that jump.
So this is what we have at the moment. When we left the dive site the last time, we also left the lifting gear attached. This gear needs to be sorted out, reconnected when necessary, and each lift bag will be given a blast of air to prime them for when they are to be fully inflated. Mark will start at the bow, and after collecting the inflation hoses will dive down to start work on the anchor itself. The anchor is now at 23 meters of depth, and not only do we have more dive time, but visibility is a lot better. Mark has been to the anchor before, but this is our first look at the anchor due to the improved visibility. His first task is to attach a lifting rope and shackle to the anchor. This will be used to hoist the anchor up, and once the lift bags have brought the anchor to the surface, will be used to tow the anchor back to port. As such, we have to ensure that this attachment can handle the estimated 10 plus tons. The shackle bolt is held in place with mousing wire to ensure it won't be undone during the trip home. If this happens, the results can be disastrous. The next job is to reconnect the inflation hoses to the manifold. These have become undone by the action of the swell over the last 6 days. Each has to be reconnected and their hose clamps tightened. Mark completes his dive and makes his way to the surface. Following him is myself, followed by Yuppie, and lastly by Wesley. I reach the second group of lift bags by swimming to the anchor and then follow the chain until I get to the second group of lift bags. I take one of the inflation hoses with me so that each lift bag group has an inflation hose leading up to our new super compressor. I connect this to the manifold to prevent my losing it. Nothing is easy underwater. Then it is the same sorting out of hoses as Mark had to do. During the 6 days of bad weather, hoses have gotten disconnected and it is an almighty spaghetti to sort out. All the while riding on a bucking bronco chain and half-inflated lift bags under enormous strain. Attention to detail is important. This hose has been lying in the mud and if it isn't unblocked, it will stop the lift bag from inflating. Eventually, between myself and Yuppie, we get all the hoses reconnected. Wesley follows as last diver and has the task of priming each bag individually. He does this by disconnecting the inflation hoses from the manifold and force feeding each bag in turn to get them to stand up. After all the bags are primed, he returns to the surface. This is a moment of truth, and once Wes is done, we are ready to start lifting. Wes is always ready to make fun at me.
And how was it?
Better than yours.
This is because I always catch more fish than he does. But that is for another video. Finally, it is time to blow the bags.
Okay, there we go.
With the chain and anchor off the bottom, we are drifting again. And we need to pull up on all our lines to secure the chain and anchor to the tug.
Coming up here as well. Coming up, als die ander zakken. Ja. Waar zit hulle? Ander kom. Dis die ander.
die chain daar is die anker dieper. Okay, draai back. The anchor is about 10 meters off. The anchor, you can see the second lifting band. Come go up on it. The aim is for the weight to be transferred to the tug by distributing the lines to both the front and the stern bollards. Since the trip back to port will take about 7 hours, we want to remove the lift bags. These are made out of PVC vinyl canvas and will be subjected to a lot of wear and tear. After securing the lines, we need to stop and think about what next. We decide to send 2 guys into the water to try and activate the dump valves on the lift bags in order to remove them. Gareth, our supervisor, decides to do this himself. For some reason the guys find this hilarious.
Sorry.
It's fine. Do I get on my sorry, there's something to say.
Although the dump valves are above the water, he takes the scuba set along as a safety measure. The 2 guys, Mark and Gareth, have to clamber on top of the lift bags to get at the valves. Conditions are quite rough and air pressure keeps the valves firmly shut. This plan doesn't work. Decide to leave the lift bags on and risk the wear and tear. They help carry the weight and act as shock absorbers. The thing about tugboats is that they go backwards as well as they go forwards. We decide to haul our load back to port by driving backwards, all the way. As we get closer to port, we have to be very careful not to run into water too shallow for what we are dragging. But we manage to haul our load right into the tugboat. Rarely does anything work out so smoothly in diving. Several days later, it is time to examine our prize. We get hold of a 25-ton crane and start hauling out the chain. First we have to haul in the towing lines, and then bit by bit the chain starts to appear. Meter after meter of chain comes out, and still no sight of the anchor, by far the heaviest item still to lift. Several lifts have to be carried out to get all the chain out the water. Finally, we get to the anchor. We still have no real idea as to the true size of this item. The water was too murky and conditions too rough to spend much time exploring, so it comes as a bit of a surprise to finally see what a gigantic anchor this actually is. The ultimate weight of the anchor turns out to be almost 12 tons, and the chain, all 38 meters of it, weighs 11 tons. The total combined weight is almost 23 tons. What a great project to be involved in.